This is the More Doors podcast. We are back today with episode 70. We have an amazing guest who has seen all the things within the multifamily area, from being an operator all the way through the vendor side. We're going to hear her story and what she's up to and some observations in the market right after this. All right, everybody, here we are again, episode 70 of the More Doors podcast. Before we get to our guest, definitely want to talk about our two sponsors of the show. Number one, the always handsome and always very professional, Mr. Jesse Showalter at Tor Studios. Go check him out at torstudios.com, T-O-R-E studios.com. The man's business has grown tremendously since we started doing the show, and it's all about the quality product that he's put out. So if you're looking to get top-tier media, consultation, podcast, recordings, video, all the things, give my boy Jesse a call and tell him we sent you. Also want to give a nod to our friends at Deep Blue Capital, deepbluere.com. Go subscribe to our site. Check out our investments. We are definitely coming into a buyer's market and may have some opportunities right around the horizon. So go check us out. Subscribe to the newsletter. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, wherever you can find us. We'd certainly appreciate the follow. How was that? That was good? See that? It's like I never skipped a beat. Huh? Yeah, exactly. Give me the mic. I'm on the bike. Something like that. All right, without any further ado, I want to introduce our guest today. Really cool that we finally got her on the show. We've been talking about this for a few months. Mary Nitschke, the Director of Strategic Accounts for Public Grid, and she also is the host of The Utility Room, another podcast that is in the space. Mary's got a great story. She's been in this industry for a really long time. We're going to get to know her a little bit and all the cool stuff that she's done and what she's working on today. So, Mary, welcome to the show.
It's so good to be here. I'm excited.
Yeah?
This is going to be fun.
It's going to be fun.
Yeah.
We always have a lot of fun.
Mandatory fun.
Mandatory fun. She said it.
Yes.
Deal. You got to hold me accountable.
Yes, I will.
Awesome.
There will be a punch card. At the end, there will be a
Just
sandwich.
don't punch me.
Yeah.
Just the card.
No. Are you kidding? I'm a utility nerd. There is no punching. It's like a slap fight.
I love that. I love that. All right, Mary. So for those of our listeners that don't know you as well as I do, just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I've been in this space for 25 plus years, and I got into the utilities. I started at a property management company in California called Prometheus Real Estate Group. And when I was hired, I started in property taxes, assessment, and appeals, worked into syndications, and then went into affordable TCAC, tax credit, all of those components. And I talked to our CFO and I said, I'm really busy, but I'm bored. I'm looking for the next challenge. And he said, everybody hates utilities. Will you do it? And I'm like, I think that sounds like my spot. And I have been in love with this space in multifamily for 2+ decades.
Wow.
Yeah.
Kudos to you. I don't know if I can do anything for 22+ decades, 20+ years.
Yeah.
I get really bored like after 3 or 4 years.
It's gone by in a half a heartbeat because it's so exciting and it continues to evolve. And so there's no 2 days that are the same, but after most of them, you feel like you need therapy.
Love that. Love that. So let's start at the beginning, if you don't mind. So tell us a little bit about where your story began.
Well, so again, at Prometheus, and this is about the early 2000s, and we really have to think about utility management in multifamily because that's my sweet spot. I'm niche Nitschke, so it's this little tiny niche, and it really came down to looking at UDR. And what UDR started doing in like the 90s as a measure of conservation was they developed the first submetering programs and started the bill back. And from that, they realized that beyond water, they could bill back other commodities as well. And so RUBS and those types of programs really started in the late 90s throughout the industry. And so that's kind of, I came into it in 2001. And when I started, companies had just started outsourcing both the RUBS and invoice processing. And when I took it over at Prometheus, just flat across the board, everybody hated it. And they hated it because they didn't understand it and they didn't know how to give it love and nurturing. So when you do it correctly, it's super fun. You can make a lot of people happy, but getting to that point I found was really challenging. I walked into the SVP of operations office and I'm like, hey, let's talk about billing back energy to heat hot water. And he went, oh, I'm late to a meeting. And he left his office. He wasn't wearing a watch. So I had this feeling like I was Shrek and I could clear a room talking about utilities. And that's when I decided, that's the inspiration of having the podcast and moving things forward is I wanted to revolutionize how we thought about utility management in this space, not something that we needed to run from like Frankenstein's monster, but something that we could reach our residents with, that we could make a difference, that we can improve NOI and win in multiple areas. So that's kind of what's kept me engaged and focused.
I love that.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about you're talking late 90s, early 2000s. A lot of the construction that's happened post 2000s, units are individually metered, right? At least for electric, some water as well, right? Was it different in some of the older construction, and that's why RUBS was so prevalent back then?
No. Well, so RUBS became prevalent, was prevalent because to your point, if you look at
Everything was
really
master
old
metered.
construction, everything is master metered. And it didn't come down, it wasn't about, we'll just pay for it. It was a determination of construction. How much room do we have? How do we maximize units? And how big of a utility room do we actually need? And so that's why everything tends to be master metered and focused on RUBS. What UDR did was the installation, and you've probably seen it in some of that early construction, a retrofit adding submetering, but you can only do that in certain markets and under certain construction types. Some of it, it would be cost prohibitive. Nothing is impossible, but you'll sacrifice a lot of stuff to get it there.
Sure.
And so that's why we see such a big preponderance of master metered communities. And even when we think about submetering, this is what people forget about, is that submetering doesn't mean that there's not a master meter, but there's a subordinate meter behind the master meter where we can create an allocation of water from. Yeah.
So I 7, 8, it's between 6 and the last 10 years, right? I started to get more and more active into multifamily investing. And this concept of submetering became very, very popular. And companies had found ways to, I guess, somewhat cost effectively create these submetering capabilities. From my opinion, they were always very cost prohibitive. And if you're not accounting for that expense when you're underwriting a deal or at the time you make the acquisition, it's something that was probably not going to happen. Has that changed at all?
No, I think a lot of the submetering where it is installed, it's done for a couple reasons. Either one, there is a regulation that you can't bill back water unless you already have submeter. And there's multiple states where this is the case. Yeah. In fact, while I was at Prometheus, and this is fast forward to 2015, 2016, California passed SB 7, which mandated that all new construction had to be submetered. And so there's jurisdictions out there that make it so you can't bill back water unless you have a submeter. And then there's that component. There are those who are strategic about, hey, this is going to be a requirement going forward, and so you're kind of prepared for it. And then there's a group of people that are like, okay, well, I can promote and market this as an amenity to the residents because you're only going to be billed back for the water that you you use. When we started rubbing in the 90s and early 2000s as an industry, I mean, nobody really knew what that was. They didn't understand it. Residents, it's a different generation, different time. They understand how those programs work, and they understand that submetered water means they're only paying for the water that they use. Now, where it gets a little foggy for people is sewer may or may not follow that same allocation as water, but there are certain markets where it's a flat fee, and so it looks completely different on the bill. So,
Gotcha.
Sorry, full nerd.
No. That was deep. Clearly, you know this extremely well. So kudos to you. So you're with Prometheus for a while.
Yeah.
Right?
18 and a half years.
18 and a half years.
Yeah.
And then I saw like you also managed their telecom at one point. So you're all over the place. If it like looked or smelled like a utility, you touched it, managed it, and figured out how to either
licked it. Yeah.
Wow. Reduce cost or build it back.
Yeah. And I mean, and when we think about cable and we think about internet, predominantly internet, it's considered a utility. And in fact, if you poll current residents and say, which would you prefer to go without for longer, internet or water? Hands down, they'll say, yeah, turn my water off, but not my internet.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's a different mindset, but it is considered like the fourth utility.
Yeah.
And so, I had to touch it.
I'm in the energy business now, and there's quite a number of folks that take care of the internet before they even pick up the phone and get their energy on.
Yeah. It's about
crazy. Got to have the internet. Everybody's a phone junkie now.
Yeah.
You got to have it.
Yeah.
So
it's true.
So what happened, or what? You made the jump from the operator side to the vendor side.
Yeah.
And you had a very, great career at RealPage for a long time, right? So what was the trigger, or what happened in your life that made you want to switch sides?
Well, I had an event in my life that made me realize that life is not a dress rehearsal. And it was that same event that made me feel indebted. And so subsequently, I wanted to do more. And I knew I had taken utilities as far as I could at Prometheus. And Prometheus is a magical, great company. But I'd hit my ceiling as far as I could go. I was to the point where I was starting to work with the development teams to design trash enclosures because I had taken all of those other components as far as we could go. And so I went to RealPage because, again, it's about revolutionizing how this industry interacts with the utility. And I wanted to build an AI waste program for multifamily. And so I went with the promise of building out a waste technology, and that's where RealPage is Smart Waste, there's Smart Water, and there's Sustainability Services Suite. Those were all built when I was getting to lead that group.
So tell us a little bit about that, because that is a bold move, right? And as someone who I had the pleasure of being at RealPage while you were there, your impact was felt, and these were some industry leading products. I didn't really understand the whole green movement very much until I worked at CA Technologies from like 2011 to 2015. But they were always priding themselves on being low emissions and a lot of sustainability stuff. That was the first time that really crossed my radar. And then a little bit at HPE, but then RealPage was like front and center.
Yeah.
And like that was your ship. So tell us a little bit about the thought process and how you thought about doing things just differently and coming out with those products.
Well, so I am, as you know, talking to me, I'm a little bit weird. And so when you're weird and fringe, you think about it differently. And I've always been very inspired by Jim Henson. So I remember back in my college days, Jim Henson and Isaac Asimov died on the same day. And nobody knows that.
You do, apparently.
Well, I knew it because in my Latin class, one of the guys was just devastated that everybody was mourning Jim and nobody was mourning Isaac. And I looked at that, and that was a pivotal moment for me because I realized, well, what Jim has done is he's made something that's sort of ethereal very accessible. And so that was something that I was inspired by and carried that through. And so what I did at RealPage was try to make these things accessible. And a big part of that is we have to have fun. I mean, how many times can you say dumpster? Seriously.
Yeah. Good point.
It's the best word ever. The fact that I got to say dumpster many times without having to go to human resources was delightful.
As you can see, Mary has a very unique sense of humor. I love this. Okay.
So,
please do. Let's get the dumpster counter somewhere on the screen here, Jesse.
Dumpster, dumpster, dumpster. Okay, as I say dumpster, everybody will play a drinking game. So if you want to get your bottles, we'll say dumpster.
It's a little early for that, but I appreciate where you're coming from.
It's 5 o'clock somewhere, Matt.
I love that. Awesome.
So that's what I thought about was when I was at Prometheus and working with the teams is a huge, and they're the heroes of the properties, and most of the time they are unsung, is the facilities and maintenance teams, because they are the ones that drive the efficacy of a lot of the programs that we're looking at when we look at efficiency and sustainability and the green movement. And if you've ever read Cannibals with Forks, the triple bottom line, which is people, planet, profit. So the facilities team are such a huge part of that. They were my inspiration when I designed things, was because it needed to be something that you could look at very quickly and know what to do. Nobody wants to read a book. Nobody wants like something in like a 2-point font that you have to blow up to really understand what you need to do. You need to know where you're at, where you're headed to, and then what the benefit of getting there is going to be. And so that's what we built into our designs to make it easy. I knew we'd hit kind of a sweet spot when I was like, okay, let me train on this, and they're like, no, I got this. That's how you know you've taken your weird and what they need and connected it, where we've made Muppets out of utilities.
That's awesome. That's a great analogy too. That's awesome. So you're no longer at RealPage.
Nope.
Tell us about the journey since.
So I loved my team at RealPage. I love RealPage. But I wanted to move a little faster. And RealPage is a big company. It's not anything disparaging. That's just, they're big. And so when you're big, you're not as agile. And so now I am with Public Grid, and we're on a mission to bring more green energy onto the grid and to reduce costs for residents. And so utilizing technologies, it suddenly unveils things that we've never been able to see before with our properties. I've always referred to it as chasing the dragon, because I always had access to the common area, the owner paid bills on the property. But that's like such a sliver of what the energy load looks like at a property. So when you're looking at your common area bills, it's typically at about 15% of the total load of your building. And so getting connected to the meters themselves and pulling that information in, suddenly you had a full, clear picture as to what you could do at your property. And that potential was just like, oh, I need to be a part of that. So I was very excited to hitch my wagon.
That's awesome. That's awesome. How's the journey been so far?
It's been really fun. Okay. It's been really fun. That's a great...
Now, Mary fun or like everybody fun?
Everybody fun. Okay. But it is sort of, I found a place where I really felt at ease with my weirdness, because, I mean, Matt, I'm sort of like Marmite. I'm an acquired taste. Either you're like, this is great, or you're like, oh my God, why? Why would you do that? And that's what I bring. And your
self-awareness is incredible, by the way.
Thank you. But it's such a good group because they embrace my weird and have made it. It's a great to be a part of the team, and they're very they're very supportive.
Love it.
Yeah.
So for the Neanderthals that you're sitting across the table from, or that could be listening,
how dare you?
Like, how do you give us a little bit more depth on what Public Grid's mission is?
So we bring we want to make energy affordable. And frankly, a big part of that is renewable. It's green energy. And
so solar?
Well, it depends on where you stand. So we stand here in Texas. We are the largest producer of wind energy than any other state in the U.S.
No kidding. I didn't know that.
Yes. And I think it's probably our Congress in Austin, and they just put fans around it to spin. I totally get it.
Getting all the hot air out.
But no, we are the largest producer of wind energy. So when you look at renewable in Texas, typically you're not seeing solar, whereas you go to other markets and it's a solar farm. But we look to procure and bring that green energy onto the grid. And by doing that in various markets, we're able to reduce costs for residents anywhere between 10 to 50%, depending on the program. And it's not just about bringing green energy onto the program. We're not going to do it fascistly just because we want to. It's always about the affordability factor and making things better for the resident and the experience with those costs.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Now, there are some big name suppliers in at least the Texas energy market, definitely across the country. And they say they have green programs. So what's the difference between their green programs and yours?
Well, it's green energy is green energy, but it is about a couple of things. So one is we look holistically at the program and the cost. Because like in Texas, you have the transmission, the wires, and then you actually have the commodity, the supply. Mm-hmm. And so you look at those two factors holistically, and we do to go, okay, this program is the lowest cost. We never say lowest rate because that's where they get you. You can have something that when you look at a cost per kilowatt or cost per kilowatt hour, it looks like it's good, but once you've fluxed in all of those other charges, it's painful. And so, and some of these programs are predatory. So even though it's green, you're paying more for it. So it creates a stigmatism around bringing renewable into the picture. So we're very careful and thoughtful on those placements. That we never are going to make a resident pay more than what they would pay if they went direct to the utility, because we're not on a mission to make things worse. We're on a mission to make things better, and a big part of that is bringing the renewable on.
So how do you actually get the energy from the big fans, right, onto the grid? Do you own the fan? No, you don't own the wind farms.
We work with the community farms themselves. So if you think of like community solar as sort of like a community garden where everybody has a segment of the garden that they have an allocation of, that's how community solar works. And so that generation comes through. It's not necessarily that the energy from this plot of community solar travels through the wires exactly to your unit, but you're responsible for bringing on that commodity, that amount of this supply onto the grid. And so in that way that you get that solar offset and that benefit on your bill.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So question, and like kind of off topic, but maybe you can help me fill in the blank. So we had Snowmageddon around here, 5.5 years ago, right?
So
and
terrible.
It was like the grid. And everybody was complaining how old the grid was and they couldn't keep up with the demand. I haven't seen anything about massive grid improvements, but I've seen a lot of these wind farms start to sprout up. So are they truly making a difference in offsetting some of the load on the grid?
Yes. Yeah. So it does. So you think about like these our consumption, our like total, like when we look at like data centers and residential homes and all of this, and there's more of us. So if you look at the population growth in the 70s to today, there's just flat out more of us. So even when we're very efficient with the amount of energy we need, we still need more energy, right? And how those plants that produce the energy, they're set to produce for a certain amount. And you don't see a whole lot of, here's a brand new power plant. So we're working with an infrastructure that, to your point, is older. So how are we going to get the additional load? And this is how we can bring it onto the grid so that we have enough energy without those electricity plants, for lack of a better word. There's called a peaker plant. They're wildly inefficient. They take a lot of energy to produce a little amount of energy. And when I say that conversion, I'm talking about taking natural gas and converting it to electric. So those peaker plants are wildly inefficient. They push out a lot more carbon monoxide. And when we talk about carbon, that's what we're talking about, is the stuff that if you breathe it out of the tailpipe of your car, you'll die.
Yeah.
So we want to put less of that into the air, because I don't know about you, but that doesn't sound fun to breathe.
No, not at all. Not at all. I try not to do that.
Yeah. Let's try and breathe as little carbon monoxide as possible.
Yeah.
And so those peaker plants are very expensive to run, and the energy providers would rather not fire those on. And so community solar and these renewable farms bringing energy onto the grid helps sort of balance the load. And so it creates a more stabilized grid.
Interesting. So earlier you said it's more wind farms than solar. Is there a reason why solar isn't more key to this?
Solar is key in the rest of the U.S. If we're just talking about Texas, Texas just happens to produce more wind. We're a very blustery state.
It's pretty sunny outside lately, though.
It's very sunny. And so, yes, we do have some solar, but it's normal in Texas for us to have wind.
Yeah,
and
it is very breezy here.
Yeah, it's very blustery. Most of the time my hair looks like a nest because it's just...
So does mine.
Yeah, I know. You just go out. I'm ready. So it's just Texas that predominantly has wind production. The rest of the U.S., it's all about solar.
Yeah.
And it's sort of fascinating. I'm looking at California. There's a whole lot of the Central Valley, which is where all of the agriculture is for that state. And you'll go down and there's a lot of the ground that is fallowed. It's been used so many times. It needs a rest. And so what those farmers are doing with that land now is solar. That's their crop.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. I would not have thought that Texas would be more effective with wind than sun.
I know.
Seriously.
You would think it would be Chicago, but it's us.
I was just had lunch with Brian, one of our business partners, the other day, and we were talking about these little solar farms, right? And joking about, should we just buy a couple acres of land and put some solar cells on them and power something, I don't know, like a race car or something. I don't know, but it doesn't sound like that is a very viable idea.
I think that's very exciting.
Okay.
I think it's ridiculously cool.
Okay.
But again, I spent a lot of time in California, and there was a section in Palo Alto where they were building EVs before there were EVs on the road. I mean, there were guys that took like a sofa and turned it into an electric vehicle.
Really?
And would drive it down the street.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And then, were they in their pajamas too?
No,
Oh,
but they should have been.
Yeah, that should.
That was a big miss.
Yeah. So you mentioned data centers, and I think just in the last couple of days, I saw that there could be a giant data center coming to Prosper. I live, in McKinney, so not far. You hear, I'm sure you saw it too, like Oracle's planning another major layoff because they're trying to keep up with their AI spend. These giant data centers, they're consuming huge quantities of energy, right? And
water.
Yeah, that too. Like how is that going to impact energy prices for the average consumer and for the markets that you and I serve, which is multifamily?
Well, if you're in Virginia, they've increased by 30%.
Really?
Yeah, because it's supply and demand.
Is that the data centers or the hotheads in Washington?
It's hard to
it's hard to tell.
It's hard to
We're
tell.
Not sure.
It's really gray.
Okay.
No, I don't know. And if you look at, that's really what has changed in a lot of markets is the demand that these data centers have brought on. Now, what is interesting is because there is so much demand for precious resources like energy and water. the data centers are going to be one of the first classes of real estate to go, okay, how do I get to net zero? How do I make enough for my own thing to run without pulling from these other resources? Because they're not popular in the community.
Yeah, it's the whole NIMBY thing, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's like NIMBY on steroids because of the impact that they have. Frankly, with data centers, I'm more concerned about the water than I am about the energy, because we can make more energy through different wind, solar. We can generate.
Yeah.
There's probably other ways to do it that we haven't even thought of yet. There's going to be like brainwave electricity someday, but we haven't figured out how to make more water. And here we are in the middle of Texas. I don't think salinization is really an option for us.
True. And even then, I feel like the oceans are in enough trouble without needing to tap into that.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
All of a sudden, people are going to start melting icebergs on purpose just to cool data centers. And
and that's going to
I'm not that smart, but that doesn't sound like a good idea.
No, and if you watch, there's tons of movies about viruses that are released from those thawed ice.
Yeah. But I've heard two different things, right? They're starting to think about putting server rooms or data centers underwater. And now we had somebody on our podcast last year who actually puts data centers in space, right? And like they get a secure connection, a lot of government stuff.
Yeah.
But there's like little satellites floating around in space that are little data centers, and you just access the data remotely via satellite connection, which is pretty cool. It's pretty cold up there.
That's very cool. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it's nicely cooled. You don't need the water to cool it, and you've got solar.
Yeah. I don't know how that scales. I'm sure Elon's probably using his abacus right now to figure that out. But I think the energy, the impact to energy pricing, given the constraints that we have, and the fact that consumption is clearly rising faster than capacity allows, poses a serious pricing threat, right? And when we think about, just kind of going back to multifamily, it's been a rough go for operators for the last couple of years between 23 into 24. It's like all of a sudden the counties woke up from COVID and property tax assessments went through the roof, right? Cap rates have decompressed. You got all kinds of, inflation has had its impact on expenses. But now, I feel like there's this looming threat on energy costs just going up so significantly in the second half of the decade. Like, what's your take on that?
I don't think it's looming. I think we're talking about it regularly. You're regularly seeing things in the news about where energy prices are and going, and I think we're feeling it in multifamily, and that's really kind of become prevalent when we talk about the resident and the resident experience. If we look back, because I always I think it's good to look back historically to kind of see where we're going. It's sort of a crazy way to do it, but that's my weird brain. Back in the 80s, commercial real estate realized that if they drove towards efficiency, they didn't call it sustainability then, it was efficiency, and worked with systems, they could make their buildings more efficient, which affected their operating expenses, but it also attracted their tenants. I think we're starting to see that push in multifamily. It was the 2024 National Apartment Association, their big resident survey with, I think it was Grace Hill, 65% of renters were looking for sustainability. And a big driver of that isn't because they want to hug a tree. They can do that all day long without their paying rent. They're looking for the efficiencies within the building itself because that impacts their bottom line. When you ask those renters what features they think about in terms of green or sustainability, it's high efficiency windows, LED lighting, Energy Star appliances, and recycling for some reason. So those are the top four that they're looking at. And if you look, there's cost savings, cost savings, cost savings. It's all about those components driving. And I think that's what we're seeing in our industry as well. it will not surprise me, particularly with these building performance standards out there. And if we look at Local Law 97 in New York, where they're slapping a grade on your building as to how efficient it is, nobody wants to eat in a restaurant that has a D rating from the health inspector. Residents are going to look at that grade on the building that they are occupying or living in and going, what does this do to my costs? And so I think we're going to see more and more of the residents really wanting to know how much does it cost to live here? Because we're also seeing residents, they're staying longer. Our turnover rates are different. And they're looking at the total cost of living within our buildings, within our communities. And so energy is a big part of that.
So the thing that I'm thinking about as I hear that is, I used to live in New York. There's a lot of old construction.
Yeah.
Way more old construction than there is new construction. Here in Texas, we have invested in primarily C and some B class assets. No secret how much new supplies come online, but I would have to imagine that the conversation that you just walked us through about a resident looking for energy efficient windows and Energy Star appliances and all that stuff, they're probably at the upper end of the market, no?
No, I think even there is a benefit, and this is what Public Grid is serving in terms of finding these green energy programs, because not all energy cost reductions necessarily have to be CapEx related. So they're looking for those things, but we can talk about energy and energy savings as an amenity without putting any hardware into your building. But you're right. There's a competitive advantage with respect to new construction coming online, having a lot of these features. It also could be argued that new construction is going to outperform existing buildings in terms of internet speeds, and yet we still compete with that utility as well. So we just have to look at it differently. As how do we create the new technologies to get us to where we need to go? I recently had a conversation with Michael Beckerman, and he referred to he's like I call him the founder, the creator of CRETech, that whole commercial real estate and technology conference that's in New York, the big one. And he was saying that it's a $20 trillion industry to create efficiency and sustainability in real estate. And I think a big part of that is within multifamily, creating the technologies to bring the efficiencies you can get from new construction to the existing asset. So we look at like cable and cable in a 1970s building. You can still get gigabit speeds.
Yeah.
You just do it a little bit differently than the new construction that may have they may have the Cat 5 wiring. So
sure, interesting. So tell us a little bit about you. So you mentioned recycling.
Yeah.
And I understand is recycling trash. It faded for a while, and now it seems like it's coming back in vogue a little bit.
Super in vogue, and especially.
Do they actually check? Because I heard a long time ago that they don't check the blue bins.
Oh, they do.
They do. Okay.
Yeah, there's.
I'll be better at that then.
Yeah, there's money in those blue bins, particularly.
Really?
Yeah. So. We grow and become better when I look at it this way. So when we have constraints on what we can do, we grow and we evolve and take it to the next level. And recycling really has gone that way. So when China stopped taking our dirty recycling, it really transitioned and changed how we looked at our waste streams. And instead of saying, okay, we can't just do single stream recycling, and which is the one blue bin that you throw everything into, as opposed to if you go to Europe, they have like 16 bins. So you're sorting out like your orange peel from your apple core,
yes.
from and you have all these little totes that you have to drag out. We have our two bins. We have trash and recycling. We didn't change that part of the stream, but we used technology and AI to change how the MRFs sorted them. So the waste facilities that sort out the different commodity types. And we got more sophisticated on how we can break down some unique things like plastics and even fiber, like clothing, looking at those different components, how those MERVs can deconstruct that into usable materials. And so it's really strong. And in fact, cost per pound of cardboard right now exceeds aluminum.
To buy or to dispose of?
To sell.
Oh, really?
So if you have a ton of cardboard, you're going to get more money than a ton of aluminum.
Really?
Yeah.
And it's just for the reusability factor?
It's just for the reusability. It's
Amazon. They go through more boxes than anybody else.
You look at objects, and they become an embedding of precious resources. So we look at this microphone, and this has some precious metals to it. This has a aluminum factor. This has a unique plastic component, and all of those things are money. And so yes, they are going into the bins because they are money.
So where does that fit into the ecosystem, though? So is that something that operators benefit from, or is it just like an overall macroeconomic thing?
Look at the rate. So the rate typically that you're paying for recycling in most markets, and if you're paying more for recycling than trash, I'd start negotiating your contract.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because you're making money on they're making money on the pickup of a thing that they can then sell.
Interesting.
So if you think about recycling, and that's why you've got back to California, because that's where I cut my teeth in the waste space. In many markets in California, the cost of recycling is embedded in the trash. So the more I could get residents in California to recycle, the more the costs would go down for the property.
But this is at a city, this is a municipality level.
This is at a municipality conversation. We need my conversations that I've had with the Recycling Partnership, which is a national nonprofit looking at bringing recycling to the U.S. because we really surprisingly we only have recycling in about 46% of the markets in the U.S. today.
Really?
I know it's crazy.
It is crazy, yeah.
So we need more recycling, and we need to understand how it works. But we also, frankly, and nobody wants like big government oversight. And I don't want big government oversight, but I do want a standard for recycling because right now the challenge is what you can recycle in one municipality, one city, to your point, is very different from what you can recycle in another city that could be right next door, depending on what MERV they take their waste to.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So let's say we're able to get some kind of level of friendly government oversight on this.
Yeah.
Who benefits and why?
Frankly, everybody benefits. So the properties and the residents benefit because if you've got that standardization, you can control costs a lot better. You don't have as much contamination, and I've seen contamination fees on bills where it'll make up $2,000 of the total expense on the bill is just the penalty fees for having a dirty stream. And a big part of that dirty stream is people don't know what goes in it because they move and the goal line changes. So what they could do here, they can't do there. And so they repeat the behavior they did here. And suddenly you've got dirty recycling. And so there's all these fees. So standardization means I know no matter where I live, what goes in this bin is recycled and what goes in that bin is trash. And so that becomes a consistent process, which controls costs for the owner and it controls costs for the residents through those bill back programs. The benefit to the hauler is you're able to better level the service. So you have a better relationship with that property owner. Additionally, it means you're going to get a clean stream. Which means that you've got you have to do less to get to the commodities that you can resell.
Interesting.
And then from the city's perspective, where they all have these different diversion requirements, and there's a lot of zero waste cities out there. I mean, Dallas has a recycling ordinance. So here where we are today, you have to have a certain tonnage per unit, and your business license is tied to it. So if you want to renew, you have to report. Or Austin has a 50% diversion requirement, and they assess penalties on a daily basis until you hit it. So there's all these markets out there that it's not just California where it is required to have these diversions, but it means the cities are more likely to hit the target because we as consumers can get there.
Amazing. You are a wealth of knowledge. I don't know if anybody's ever told you that today.
No, I've been.
Hopefully, the last few hours. Let me be the first one today.
Thank
but
you.
like, and you make it fun, right? Honestly, like, and I wouldn't tell you that if I wasn't sure. Like, yeah, absolutely. We got to wrap up here in a second, but before we do, why don't you tell us a little bit about your show?
Oh, yeah. So I have the utility room, and Matt, you're coming on, so I'm. You're
wait.
not done with me.
I can't wait. Put me in the hot seat.
All right.
Yeah.
So through Multifamily Media Network, I host a podcast. We bring out episodes on a weekly basis. So if anybody wants to talk utilities, it's called The Utility Room, and we talk about everything related to all of the commodity types. And we look at it from different perspectives and ESG. It's a lot of fun, but because I have the attention span of a 12-year-old, it's about a 20-minute show. So if you've got a little tiny commute, I'm your sweet spot.
Perfect. Last question for you before we wrap up.
Yes.
We've been asking all of our guests this lately. Can you give us one or two examples of how you're using AI practically in your day-to-day or within the business?
I think some great uses of AI is I was writing for a circularity company called Genesis Dome, and they were using AI in their facility to do the sorting. I personally use AI a lot to make my analytics pretty. So I take what I've done and ground into a spreadsheet, and I tell AI, can you make this into a graph so it is visually pleasing and understanding and accessible? And it can throw it in much faster than I can create the formulas to do it.
Nice. I use the Claude plugin for Excel. It feels so much smarter than I am.
Yeah, the visualization of data is important, and that's what I'm seeing like trending a lot into our industry going forward. We have to have the metric of data, but we have to be able to use it in a way that's valuable and speaks. And so I use AI a lot to take the data that I have crunched and make it appetizing.
Love it. Awesome. I'd love to see some of that too.
Yeah.
Mary, you're awesome. Thank you so much for joining us on the show. Team, hope everybody now knows a lot more about energy, trash, sustainability. If you have any other questions, Mary, where can people find you?
You can find me on LinkedIn.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome. Mary, you're awesome. Thank you so much for joining us today. Can't wait to get on the show. Can't wait for this to come out because I think, operators specifically have a lot to think about and have been going through a lot, and that's probably not changing anytime soon. Mm-hmm. And knowing what you've talked about here today, like sounds like there's some things we need to get out ahead of and really start being more thoughtful about. So I appreciate you sharing everything that you did with us today.
Thank you. It's so fun to be here.
Awesome. Thank you so much. All right, everybody. That's it for episode 70 with Mary Nitschke from Public Grid. We'll catch again sometime soon here with episode 71. We got a couple of great shows on the calendar here between now and the end of the month. Don't forget to go check out my boy Jesse at Tor Studios and have him hook you up on your next podcast or visual consultation digital needs. And we'll catch everybody again soon. Thank you.